Good morning class. So welcome to the next session of structural engineering. So today's class will be discussing design of singly reinforced beam. So before that we need to discuss some guidelines given in IS 456. So we'll start with the guidelines first, then we'll be discussing about what are the design steps, then we'll solve some problems on that. Okay, so first we'll start with guidelines of IS 456. So as I told you, you require a PDF copy of this. Okay, don't depend on phone format. Get a Xerox copy of this, get a printout of this and keep it in front of you while you are solving the problems and all. Okay, so we'll start with first guideline is nominal cover. As I told you in the previous class, there are three to four types of conditions are mentioned in IS 456. Based on the conditions we have different dimensions of cover. So these are given in table 16 page 47. These are given in table 16 page 47. You have different conditions mentioned here. Table 16 is here. You have different conditions starting from mild to extreme, mild, moderate, severe, very severe and extreme conditions. So generally Hyderabad will lie in mild and moderate conditions, so we'll consider nominal cover as 20 or 30 mm. So it is completely your wish how much how much you want you can assume. Okay, you can assume even 30 mm, you can assume 20 mm. Okay, design means completely it is based on your dimensions, your provisions. Okay, but you need to follow what code says. If you are assuming some value, you should assume from the code. You are assuming severe conditions, so take what are the values available for severe conditions. Okay, so this is given on table 16 page 47. Next we have is minimum reinforcement. Minimum reinforcement. Minimum reinforcement, in that we have first is diameter. How much diameter of reinforcement should be provided in beams? This we are discussing for beams only. Okay, beams. Okay, so first is minimum reinforcement, in that we have first is minimum diameter. So minimum diameter should not be less than 12 mm in case of beams. Don't consider beams which are on the ground, such as we call as plinth beams. Okay, there are some beams which are lying on the ground. Those are considered to be beams, but we don't have any slab load on that. These are roof beams. Okay, roof beams which are supporting the slab on it. So in that we have minimum diameter of reinforcement should not be less than 12 mm. Next we have is minimum area. Minimum area, this is given on page number 47 of IS 456. The formula is AS by BD is equal to 0.85 by Fy. The minimum area of reinforcement to be provided should be provided is this much. This is AS or AST, it can be ASC or AST. Okay, now see here, moment is not involved. This AST, this minimum reinforcement is also called as AST minimum. AST minimum. Okay, AST minimum is equal to, if you see from this formula, AST minimum is equal to 0.85 BD by Fy. 0.85 BD by Fy. It is independent of moment applied, grade of concrete used. It is totally dependent on what cross section you assume. See here, what is the cross section and what reinforcement you are assuming. So based on certain dimensions, suppose 230 mm by 300 mm is the dimension of the beam. So based on the dimensions, how much reinforcement should be provided? This formula gives you that. Okay, what does this mean? If you are getting area of reinforcement due to moment lesser value, minimum this reinforcement should be provided. Okay, suppose if you calculate, I'll show you when we are solving the problem. So we'll just write down where it is available and we'll get that. Okay, we'll see when we are solving problems. Next guideline is third one. minimum width. Minimum width. Width means this is called as width B. B should not be less than 200 mm in case of beams. Okay. These are also mentioned in IS 456. If you search, we'll get these, all these guidelines are mentioned here. So this I told you, it is available on page number 47. The same page it is available. Okay. Next is to calculate area of reinforcement using moment. Okay, when load is applied on the beam, it generates shear force and bending moment in the beam. Beam will be subjected to what? Shear forces and bending moments. So formula to calculate moment, it is given on page number 96. Page number 96. This is, on this page you have all the formulas which we are solving from the first. See here, this is the first formula. When you equate C equal to T, this is the first formula. C equal to T, this is the first formula. Next is, this is the formula which is used to calculate area of reinforcement using the moment. So formula is mu is equal to 0.87 Fy AST D into 1 minus Fy by Fck into AST by BD. This is given on page number, area of reinforcement, page number 96. Page number 96, IS 456. If you see this formula, this will give you AST square. You are calculating area of reinforcement here. AST is the unknown quantity here. So if I multiply this with the bracket terms, this will give me AST square, which will be a quadratic equation. Okay. If you solve the quadratic equation, you will have two roots. One will be the answer for the area of reinforcement. Okay. Next step is how to convert into number of bars. How to convert the given reinforcement in number of bars. Suppose you want n number of bars, how to convert is AST by A phi. AST means what reinforcement you got, divided by diameter of each bar will give you how many bars are required. We'll solve this, and this will make you more clear when we solve some problems. Okay. Suppose you got the area of reinforcement 200 mm square. If you want to convert into number of 12 mm diameter bars, you need to divide by area of 12 mm diameter bars. You will get how much number of bars are required. How many bars are required can be calculated by using that formula. Finished? So next important term is loads. This again comes under guidelines only. Loads. So generally loads are classified into multiple parts we have seen. Those are dead weight, dead load, live load, or wind load, earthquake load, snow load. These are the 5 basic classifications of load. So first is we'll discuss what is dead load. For loads, you have a different code book, IS 875, part 1 to part 4. Part 1 deals with self weight, part 2 deals with live load, part 1 deals with dead load, part 2 deals with live loads, part 3 is for earthquake loads, part 4 is for wind loads. All these are given in IS 875. This is not required now, but we'll take what are the values are available in IS 875 and we'll solve the problems. So first is dead load. How to calculate dead load? Dead load is generally calculated by using this formula, B multiplied by D multiplied by density of concrete. Density of concrete. So generally, okay, we'll write unit weight. This unit weight of concrete is given as 25 kg kilonewton per meter cube. Okay, this is the formula. Some books they are using 24.8, either 24. So generally we'll assume 25, which is a higher value, which will give us more load. Okay, so 25 kilonewton per meter cube is the density of concrete. If I multiply it with the depth and breadth of beam, I'll get what load will be acting on the beam per meter. Okay, this is meter cube. If I multiply with two values, this load will be in the form of kilonewton per meter. Tell me what are the unit, which load has this units? Kilonewton per meter. It is UDL. UDL, what are the units of UDL? Kilonewton per meter. So we'll convert this density by multiplying with two dimensions to get the load in kilonewton per meter. Okay. So this is how we calculate dead load. So first assumption is you need to assume what B and what D. Okay. Design is completely a cyclic process. You assume some assumptions, you come to the checks. If checks are okay, assumptions are correct. If checks are not satisfied, assumptions are wrong. Okay, this is completely a cyclic process. If you assume B and D, you will calculate what? AST. Okay, if AST is assumed, if AST is okay, B and D assumed are correct. Okay. So this is what? Dead load. Next is you have live loads. Generally these values are assumed from 2 kilonewton per meter square or 2 kilonewton per meter to 4 kilonewton per meter. As per IS 875, for different types of building you need to assume these values. Sorry, kilonewton per meter square. Kilonewton per meter square. Now this here, this is a type of surface load, area load. Why? Because 2 kilonewton is acting on a square of 1 meter by 1 meter. 1 meter by 1 meter will give me a 1 meter square area. So for 1 meter square by 1 meter, sorry, 1 meter by 1 meter area, 1 meter square area, how much load is acting on that? 2 kilonewton. So these are types of area loads. Okay. So again these are mentioned in IS 875 part 2. Okay. For different types of buildings you have different loads. Why? Because if you see residential buildings, live loads will be less in residential buildings. Comparatively, college building, which will have more live load, right? Why? Because we have more gatherings here, we have benches, we have much furniture here. So we'll have more live loads. Suppose you consider commercial buildings, which are meant for some factories and for some storages. So there the live load will be further more. Okay. So these are again mentioned in IS 875 part 2. You have a tabular form there. For different buildings you have different loads mentioned. So we will not discuss what are wind loads and what are earthquake loads, because that you will learn in advanced RCC. Okay. Here we have only dead loads and live loads. Next type of one more load is, this comes under live load only, floor finishes. Floor finishes. Floor finishes means load of the flooring. Okay, weight of flooring. What material is used? Suppose you are using granite material, that will have more density, it will be more heavier. You are using this type of flooring, it is some lighter. So different flooring weights we have. So generally we assume this value to be 1 kilonewton per meter square to 2 kilonewton per meter square. So these are different types of loads which we have discussed. So basic guidelines we have discussed. So some more guidelines will be there, which will be discussing while we are solving the problems. Okay. So next is, we'll go to design of singly reinforced beams. Previous classes we were discussing analysis of beams. If you remember, analysis of beam we were discussing, in which for the given dimension, given area of reinforcement, you were calculating what? Moment of resistance. Okay. Moment of resistance is computed. Now here moment will be given to you or load will be given to you. You need to design the beam, means you need to select one breadth and depth of beam and provide some reinforcement such that it is safe in carrying moment. Okay. So steps for design of singly reinforced beam. Singly reinforced beam. What do you mean by singly reinforced beam? Reinforcement is provided only in the tension zone. Compression zone, there is no reinforcement. First step is assume width of the beam suitably. Okay, what does this mean? I told you design is completely a cyclic process. Okay, nothing will be mentioned to you in the problem. If sometimes breadth is given, directly take it. If breadth is not given, you need to assume what values to be taken. Okay, so how to assume the value? I told you what is the minimum depth criteria, minimum breadth criteria. So minimum breadth should not be less than 200 mm. So you can assume any value more than 200 mm. You can assume 500 mm, you can assume 600 mm. But when you are designing, you will be able to understand for how much load, how much breadth is required. So generally, we assume breadth of the beams as 230 mm. Why this is dimension is 230 mm is, this is exactly equal to 9 inches. Okay, 9 inches. So these are the dimensions, standard dimensions of the scaffolding. What do you mean by scaffolding? Materials which are supporting fresh concrete. Okay, some plates are there, some sides are there, everything is there, right? So the standard dimensions which are available is 9 inches, 12 inches, 15 inches, 21 inches, 18 inches. These are the standard dimensions available. So 9 inches is the least dimension available there. So if you take 6 inches, which is also equal to 150 mm, but that is not advisable because beam should have a minimum width of 200 mm. So 230 mm is the least dimension. And also what will happen, the column which is of 9 inches will get flushed into the beam. Okay, the width of column and width of beam will be same, so that the aesthetic view is good. Okay, so assuming the width of the beam suitably. Next is based on span to effective depth ratio, span to effective depth ratio on page number 37, assume the depth required. Span to effective depth ratio, this is also called as deflection criteria. See here, you have a huge span of beam here. Some amount of depth should be fixed, right? Some amount of depth is required for that beam. So how much is required is given on page number 37. If you see page number 37, page number 37, clause number 23.2.1. Here it is mentioned basic values of span to effective depth ratios for span up to 10 meters. Okay, for a span of 10 meters, the values are given to you. You have three types of values. First is cantilever, simply supported, and continuous. So based on the end conditions, you have values available here. Okay, depth required based on end conditions. Okay, based on end conditions. For cantilever, the value is 7. So what is this value? Span to effective depth ratio. This value is equal to 7 for cantilever beams. Similarly, span to effective depth ratio for a simply supported beam, it is 20 mm. For continuous beam, it is 26 mm. Okay, cantilever is this one. This is a simply supported beam. Span to effective depth will be 20. For cantilever, it is 7. Based on this span to effective depth, the values are given to you. Next is calculate effective span. Effective span. Suppose you have a fixed beam like this or a simply supported beam like this. What do you mean by simple support? Simple support means moments at these ends will be zero. You will not have any moments at the ends because these are simply supported. Whereas you have maximum bending moment in mid span or somewhere near you have heavy point loads. Okay. So practically how it is possible is, how to make a simple support is, you cast this beam on the ground, you raise these two columns, lift the beam, keep it on the columns. This is called as a simple support. Similarly, this is casted in other way. Okay, we are casting beam column junction simultaneously. Okay, we are concreting beam column junction simultaneously. So this is a type of fixed support. So effective span means it is the distance between center to center distance between two supports. Okay, effective span is center to center distance between two supports. Whenever you are given support width of support is given, so you need to calculate effective span. This is given on page number 34. Page number 34. For simply supported beams, effective span is equal to L plus B by 2 plus B by 2. See here I am writing capital B. Why? Because this is capital B. Or we write BS, breadth of support by 2 and breadth of support by 2. Okay, so this is suppose 230 mm. So if L is 5 meters, 5 plus 0.23 plus 0.23 divided by 2. All should be in 1 units. Remember that. So here if you see page number 34, one condition is given here. The effective span of a member that is not built in integrally. Okay, this is the condition which is not built in integrally. Not built in integrally means simply supported. Okay, not built in integrally with its supports shall be taken as clear span. This is called as clear span. Clear span is distance between two columns. Okay, clear span plus effective depth, or clear span plus effective depth or center to center distance between the supports. Okay, clear span plus effective depth or clear span plus center to center distance between two supports, whichever is least. These are many guidelines in the code. Without this code book you cannot solve a single problem in RCC. Okay, L plus BS by 2 plus BS by 2 means what? Clear span plus support width by 2. If you want, you can write from page number 34. Effective span is mentioned here. Okay, or L plus D. D we are getting from here. L plus D will give me effective span, whichever is least. Okay, of course you will have some doubts. We'll clear when we are solving the problems. Next step is calculation of loads, which includes dead load and live load. Okay, dead load and live load, you will calculate total load acting on the beam, dead load plus live load. Factored load. What do you mean by factored load? I told you we have discussed characteristic load. What is the definition for characteristic load? The load which has 95% of the probability of not being exceeded throughout its lifetime. Okay, 95%, you will consider that load which will not increase in its 95% of the lifetime of structure. Okay, so factored load means it is simply given as 1.5 times dead load plus live load. This 1.5 times is called as factor of safety for load. Okay, factor of safety for load. Will multiply, will add dead load and live load, multiply with it with a factor of safety. So this is called as safety factor, which is 1.5 when you are taking two loads into consideration. Okay, next is calculate factored moment, which is equal to, based on end conditions. Based on end conditions. What do you mean by end conditions? Again, simply supported or cantilever. Okay, suppose you have a cantilever beam, you have some UDL on it. What will be the maximum bending moment? WL square by 2. Suppose you have a simply supported beam here which is subjected to W load, moment will be WL square by 8. Okay, these are the formulas again which you have used in solid mechanics. Again you have to use it here. Okay, for simply supported beam you need to calculate bending moment like that, or cantilever beam. Suppose you have a different condition, suppose you have a non-central point load, you need to remember the values of all types of loads. Okay, so factored moment means what? Using factored load you will calculate by using that formula, using factored load. Okay, so now W is capital W or small w is equal to 1.5 times of dead load plus live load. If you are using this W here, which is factored load, this will give me factored moment. Okay, next step. Calculate limiting moment by using the formula given on page number 96. Mu lim is equal to 0.36 FCK B XU max into D minus 0.42 XU max. Okay, mu lim is called as limiting moment. This is the formula, 0.36 FCK B XU max D minus 0.42 XU max. Okay, suppose you have Fe 415 grade of concrete, so XU max will be equal to 0.48 D. We have discussed this one in the previous class also. You will get this formula as 0.138 FCK BD square. Okay, next is if mu is less than mu lim. What is this mu? Mu is nothing but factored moment or ultimate moment. Ultimate moment, factored moment, design moment, all means the same. Okay, ultimate moment, factored moment, design moment, all are mu's only. Okay, ultimate load, factored load, design load. Ultimate load, factored load, design load means what? All are multiplied with 1.5 and multiplied with factor of safety. Okay, so if mu is less than mu lim, what does this mean? This will give me the capacity of section. See here, it is involving B and D, again D. So this will give me capacity of section for given dimension. What is the capacity of section? Now this is what applied load. If capacity of section is more, applied load is less. This type of beams are called as singly reinforced beams. Singly reinforced beams, not under reinforced. Under reinforced, over reinforced is judged by using depth of neutral axis, xu less than xu max, xu more than xu max over reinforced, right? Similarly, if mu is more than mu lim, what does this mean? Capacity of section is less, whereas applied moment is more. So these type of beams are called as doubly reinforced beams. So this will, in this step, you will justify what design is to be carried out in the next step. Okay, if it is a singly reinforced beam, use the formula for singly reinforced beam, calculate how much area of reinforcement is required, finish the problem. If it is doubly reinforced beam, apply the formulas of doubly reinforced beams and finish the problem. So this step is very important. Next is for singly reinforced beam. Okay, we are discussing only design steps for singly reinforced beam, so we'll continue this part. We'll solve some problems on singly reinforced beam, then we'll go for doubly reinforced design. Okay, suppose the first condition is satisfied and the beam is singly reinforced. Now you need to use this formula, mu is equal to 0.87 Fy AST into 1 minus, AST D into 1 minus Fy by Fck into AST by BD. This is the formula to be used now. Okay, this formula is given on page number 96. Please check your code books, it is given on page number 96. So from this, what is to be calculated? Area of reinforcement. 8th step for singly reinforced beam, find area of tensile reinforcement required. Okay, what do you mean by singly reinforced beam? We have reinforcement only in the tensile zone, no reinforcement is there in compression zone. So we will calculate what is area of reinforcement required in tension zone. So if you know the values of mu here, right, you need to assume Fy and Fck if they are not given. You have got B and D from the initial steps. You have assumed B, calculated D. Okay, so using this formula you will get what is AST required. Now next step is convert AST into number of reinforcement bars. This can be done by using this formula, N is equal to AST by A phi. Total reinforcement divided by area of each bar. We'll solve one problem which will make you more clear. Now last step will be sketch the reinforcement details. Okay, show the diagram like this, how much B you are providing, how much D you are providing, how many bars are providing you in tension, how many bars you are providing in compression.